Hey, what's up everybody? It's Andy from CleanSwifter.com, and I'm here to show you another refactoring from Martin Fowler's book, Refactoring, Improving the Design of Existing Code. This week we're going to be looking at a refactoring called Inline Temp. Inline Temp is one that once you learn it, you'll realize that you've been using it all over for a while. Essentially what Inline Temp does is that when you have a temporary variable that's only ever written to once, you can then remove that variable and move whatever the computation is that initially assigns it a value into every other place it's read. So the benefit of doing this is that it can actually help you do a larger refactoring. So for example, say you had a piece of common code that you wanted to use apply extract method on and move that code to a new central place that several other methods can call it. Well, what you have to do is that there may be, if you're actually using a temp variable within that code, it might be hard to extract, because what could happen is that the temp variable could be declared, many lines above the code that you want to extract. And if you extract that method, the reference to the temp variable will be lost, and you have to essentially figure out how to recreate it in that extracted method. What you can easily end up doing though is inline the temp. So take whatever computation was initially populating a value in that temp that only is getting a value written to it once, and then replace the reference to the temporary variable in the code that you're trying to extract, and that is the inline temp refactoring. So let's take a look at some Swift code and see it in action. So here's some code. You can actually see it's a pretty simple view controller, and we're overriding view.didLoad, and there's also another method in here called getAppTitle. So getAppTitle is fairly simple. It's just returning a static string, and I'd say use your imagination here. Imagine this is calling another class, which could be doing some other slower, like core data lookup or reading a value from some other store. The code that I really want to apply this refactoring to is up here in view.didLoad. So you can see in view.didLoad we have a temporary variable created, title string, and that calls that method getAppTitle. Title string is then used in two different places. It's actually used to first create a label and then set that string as the text on the label, and then the label gets added as a subview to the view. Title string is then used again later on to then be set as the title for the view controller. So the first indication here that we can use the inline temp refactoring is that Swift is actually, the compiler is actually prompting us with a warning saying that we've declared this variable as a var, and Swift is telling us it was never mutated. That means it's never been changed, so that it's suggesting to us that we can change this to a let. So because I can change that to a let, it's going to be a constant, and I'll never be able to write to that again. So if I try to assign a new value to title string here, the Swift compiler will tell me I cannot assign a new value because title string is defined as a let. So what I'm getting at here is that if you have a variable defined as a let and it's used as a temp, it's a good indication that it's ready to be applied with the inline method refactoring. So the refactoring here is I'm going to actually delete this line of code. And first I'm going to then take the value of how the value is being calculated and applied to title string. And then what I can do is anywhere title string is referenced, just instead manually reapply the call to getAppTitle in that place. And so the temp is gone, it's been in line with each of its references. Now, what I was saying before is why might you want to use this refactoring? Well, it sets you up to then do a greater refactoring, which is that, okay, here's this code which I could feasibly wanting to use in several different places, and it's probably better to have as a nice method on its own, is to then take this and extract method into another place where I will call it create title label and put that code there and call create title label here. And that right there is a two-step. That's actually two refactorings in one. First, I used inline method, inline temp, to remove the temporary variable and put the call inline with where it was being read from. And then that set me up for another refactoring, which was extract method, create title label. That right there is the inline temp refactoring. And again, inline temp, it's kind of straightforward. You're essentially going to remove a temporary variable that's only ever written to once, and then instead put the call to the actual method within each line where the variable is read. I hope you like this video from cleanswifter.com. Check back next week for another from Martin Fowler's book, Refactoring, Improving the Design of Existing Code. Thanks.